Carter stormed into his opulent mansion, the echo of his footsteps drowning out the soft cries of a baby. He found his maid, Maria, cradling Hep infant against her chest, a sight that ignited his fury. "You think this is appropriate?" he shouted, his voice slicing through the air. Just hours later, a phone call shattered his world. A DNA test revealed that the child was his. The humiliation of his actions clawed at him as he realized he had belittled the very mother of his son. "My name is Carter. I learned the hard way that pride can cost you everything." I stared at the phone, my heart racing as the words from the doctor echoed in my mind. "You are the father." The revelation hit me like a freight train slamming against the walls of my carefully constructed life. Everything I had taken for granted, the lavish parties, the power I wielded, the respect I demanded, felt hollow. I was not just a CEO anymore. I was a father, and that title carried a weight I was wholly unprepared for. I ran my fingers through my hair, 1,000 thoughts jumbled in my mind. How had I let myself become this man, the one who judged and ridiculed without knowing the whole story? My initial anger at Emily had morphed into something far more complex. Guilt clawed at my insides, and a sense of longing emerged. I had a daughter, yet I had acted like a tyrant, tearing down the very woman who had brought her into this world. I had prided myself on my intelligence and my ability to navigate the treacherous waters of business, but now I found myself lost. It was one thing to make enemies in the boardroom, but to create a fracture in my family. How could I have been so blind? Determined to fix this, I rushed to my car, my mind racing with the possibilities of what I might say to Emily. What words could possibly make her understand my regret? How could I convince her that I was willing to change, to take responsibility? The drive to her apartment felt eternal, each passing moment amplifying the weight of my regret. When I finally arrived, I hesitated outside the door, my hand poised to knock. I imagined her face, the hurt in her eyes when I had scorned her just hours before. Would she even want to see me? After a moment of contemplation, I knocked, my heart thudding in my chest. The sound echoed in the silence that followed, and I could almost hear my own doubts whispering to me, telling me to turn back. Then the door creaked open, revealing Emily standing there, her tired eyes widening in surprise. I could see the remnants of a sleepless night etched on her face, yet she held herself with a quiet strength. "Carter," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, a mixture of surprise and uncertainty. I caught a glimpse of Lily in her arms, the tiny bundle of life who had unwittingly become the catalyst for my transformation. "Emily, I need to talk to you," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She opened the door wider, allowing me to step inside. The small space was cluttered with toys and the remnants of daily life, a stark contrast to the opulence I was used to. The smell of baby lotion filled the air, a reminder of the innocence I had nearly dismissed. She watched me closely, her expression unreadable. I took a deep breath, the words I had rehearsed falling away as I faced her. "I am sorry. I was wrong to treat you like that. I didn't know. I still don't know how to be a father, but I want to learn. I want to be part of Lily's life." Emily's gaze softened, but I could see the walls she had built around her heart. "Carter, it's not that simple. You can't just waltz in here after everything and expect to be part of her life." Her voice trembled slightly, and I noticed the protective instinct that was so evident in her demeanor. "I understand. I don't expect forgiveness right away. I know I need to earn it." I took a step closer, my eyes locked on her. "But I want to be there for you both. I can't change the past, but I can change how I act moving forward. Please give me that chance." For a long moment, Emily studied me, and the silence was almost unbearable. I could feel the weight of my past mistakes pressing down on us. I had never felt so vulnerable, yet something in me urged me to stay firm. Finally, she sighed, glancing down at Lily, who was gurgling softly in her arms. "You don't understand how hard it has been, Carter. I've done everything on my own, and I've made sacrifices to provide for her. You've lived in a world where money solves problems, but Lily needs more than just financial support. She needs a father. I know, I replied, my voice steady, and I want to be that father. I may have money, but I'm willing to learn what it means to truly support you both. I want to be present in her life, not just financially, but emotionally. Emily's expression softened further, but doubt still lingered in her eyes. You have no idea what you're asking for. It's not just about showing up. It's about being there, day in and day out. Are you really willing to do that? I nodded, feeling an unfamiliar determination surging within me. Yes, I am. I want to understand what you go through and be a part of it. I want to make amends, and it starts with me being here, supporting you both. She took a deep breath, the tension in the air thick with unspoken emotions. Finally, she stepped back slightly, allowing me a glimpse of the future I had never expected. You'll need to prove it, Carter. Actions speak louder than words. I will, I promise, I replied, my heart racing with hope. This was just the beginning, but I felt a shift, an opportunity to not only reclaim the role of father, but to redefine who I was as a person. Together, we could forge a new path, one built on honesty and trust, and perhaps even a little bit of love. As I looked at Emily and Lily, I knew that this was a journey I was willing to embark on, no matter the cost. I could sense the weight of my past mistakes hanging heavy in the air, an invisible fog that threatened to engulf me. As Emily gently cradled Lily in her arms, I felt an overwhelming urge to connect with both of them, to step beyond the barriers I had unknowingly erected. My first instinct was to ask a million questions about her life, about the challenges she faced as a single mother, and about Lily, the daughter I never knew existed. But as I stood there, unsure of how to break the ice, I took a deep breath and allowed silence to fill the space between us. Emily looked up at me, her eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and caution. "You have a lot of questions, don't you?" she finally said, her voice steady yet soft. I nodded slowly, feeling my throat tighten. "I do," I admitted, "but more than that, I want to understand. I want to be part of your lives." The sincerity in my voice seemed to catch her off guard, and I could see her resolve wavering just a bit. She hesitated, glancing down at Lily, who was now peacefully asleep against her chest. "It hasn't been easy, you know," she replied, her tone shifting from guarded to contemplative. "Raising a child on my own while working for you has had its challenges, but I've managed." I felt a rush of admiration for her resilience, and it only deepened my desire to make amends. I had once viewed my wealth as a symbol of success, but in this moment, I realized that true success was measured by the relationships we cultivate and the love we share. "What can I do to help?" I asked, my heart pounding in anticipation of her answer. Emily looked at me, her brow furrowing as if weighing my sincerity. "You can start by respecting my boundaries," she said firmly. "I'm not sure how to navigate this new reality, and I need time to process everything." I understood. After everything I had put her through, I had no right to rush her. "Of course, I'll respect your space. But please know that I'm here whenever you're ready to talk," I promised, hoping my words conveyed the depth of my commitment. Over the following days, I found myself observing Emily from a distance. I watched her navigate the demands of her job with grace, her nurturing spirit evident in the way she interacted with Lily. There was a warmth in the way she held her daughter that made my chest ache with an unfamiliar longing. I wanted to be a part of that warmth, to share in the moments that mattered. Each time I saw them together, a fierce determination ignited within me. I was no longer just a CEO. I was a father, and I needed to step into that role. Determined to show Emily I meant business, I arranged for a small celebration at my home, a gathering I hoped would ease the tension between us. I personally curated every detail, ensuring that it felt welcoming and inclusive, a stark contrast to the cold and sterile environment I had unwittingly created in the past. I wanted Emily to know that I was serious about our future and that I was willing to invest time and energy into this newfound family. On the day of the gathering, I could hardly contain my excitement. I set up a cozy space in the backyard, complete with soft lighting and comfortable seating. When Emily arrived, I could see the skepticism etched on her face. I greeted her warmly, noting how she held Lily close, as if shielding her from my past misdeeds. "Welcome," I said, gesturing to the setup. "I thought we could all use a little celebration." Emily's eyes narrowed slightly as she surveyed the scene. "You really did all this?" she asked, her tone softening just a touch. I nodded. "I want to create a safe space for us to get to know each other better, to start fresh." As I watched her digest my words, I felt a flicker of hope. Throughout the evening, I made it a point to engage with Emily, to include her in conversations rather than treating her as an employee. I asked about her favorite things, her aspirations, and what she dreamed of for Lily's future. With each passing moment, I could see her walls slowly start to crumble. She began to share stories about her life, her struggles, and her dreams for Lily. Each word like a thread weaving us closer together. At one point, I caught her gazing at Lily, a smile dancing on her lips. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough for her," she confessed, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her voice. I was taken aback by her honesty. "You're doing more than enough," I assured her. "Just look at the love you give her every day. That's what matters most." Emily's eyes met mine, and in that instant, I saw a glimmer of hope reflected back at me. Perhaps I was beginning to break through the barriers that had kept us apart. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was a chance for us to rebuild our lives together. As the night wore on, I felt a warmth growing between us, a fragile but undeniable connection. As I walked Emily and Lily to their car, I felt a sense of determination. "I want to be involved in Lily's life," I said firmly, my heart racing. "I can't change the past, but I can promise to be there for both of you going forward." Emily paused, and I held my breath, waiting for her response. After what felt like an eternity, she simply nodded, a small smile creeping across her face. "Let's take it one step at a time," she replied, her tone softer now. As they drove away, I felt a sense of hope. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was willing to fight for this family. I knew that it would take time to heal the wounds of the past, but with each step we took together, I felt more assured that a brighter future awaited us. I could already envision the possibilities, moments filled with laughter, love, and the joy of being a father. And as I stood in the fading light of the evening, I made a silent promise to myself and to them. I would not let this chance slip away. I would be the father Lily deserved and the partner Emily needed. Together, we would navigate the complexity of our new relationship, one step at a time. If you're enjoying this journey of redemption and the unfolding relationship between Carter, Emily, and Lily, consider subscribing for more heartfelt stories about love, family, and the power of second chances. As I stood there, my heart racing and my mind racing faster, a wave of emotions washed over me. The realization that Lily was my daughter settled heavily on my chest, both exhilarating and terrifying. How had I let my arrogance blind me for so long? The mother of my child had been right in front of me, and yet I had chosen to mock her instead of offering understanding and support. I felt a lump forming in my throat as I recalled the way Emily had looked at me, hurt, defiant, and yet somehow still hopeful. It was in that moment, staring into the depths of her eyes, that I began to grasp the weight of my actions. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I knew I had to approach Emily, not just as her employer, but as a father seeking a connection with his daughter. I needed to apologize, not only for my harsh words, but also for the years I had left her to raise Lily alone. I had no idea how she would react. Would she welcome me, or would the bitterness of my past treatment overshadow any chance we had for a future together? I found Emily in the kitchen, the soft sounds of Lily's cooing filling the air as she gently rocked her in her arms. I hesitated in the doorway, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. It felt surreal to see them both, the connection between mother and child, palpable and beautiful. I remembered the laughter and joy I had experienced as a child with my own father. But then the memories of my father's abandonment surfaced, and I knew I had to do everything in my power to avoid repeating that cycle. "Emily," I finally said, my voice unsteady. She turned to face me, her expression a mix of surprise and wariness. I took a step closer, lowering my gaze to the floor for a moment, gathering my resolve. "I need to talk to you, about Lily, about us." Emily tightened her grip on Lily as if shielding her from my presence. What could you possibly have to say that would matter now? Her words were laced with bitterness, and I couldn't blame her. I had been the one to push her away, to treat her with disdain when she had been nothing but devoted and loving. "I know I've hurt you," I continued, my voice barely above a whisper. "What I said the other day, it was cruel, and I can't change that. But I want to be there for you and for Lily. I want to be a father, and I want to support you both in any way I can." Emily's gaze softened, but her skepticism was still present. "You think you can just waltz back in and act like everything is okay? You don't understand the challenges I face every day. This isn't just about you, Carter." She was right. I had no idea what it was like to struggle, to fight for every bit of happiness in a world that often turned its back on people like Emily. I took another step forward, my heart pounding in my chest. "I know it won't be easy, and I can't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want to learn. I want to understand what you've been through, and I want to be part of Lily's life, if you'll let me." For a moment, silence filled the room. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, and I held my breath, hoping for even a flicker of acceptance. Finally, she spoke. "It's not that simple, Carter. You don't just get to choose to be a father after all this time. You need to prove it. Actions speak louder than words." Her words hit me like a tidal wave, and I nodded, fully aware of the truth in them. I had spent too long living in a bubble of privilege, disconnected from the struggles that defined the lives of those around me. "What can I do? Tell me what you need from me, and I'll do it. I'll be there for you and Lily in every way I can." I could see the weight of my sincerity beginning to chip away at her defenses, but she wasn't ready to fully let me in just yet. "I need to know that you're serious. You may have all the money in the world, but Lily needs more than that. She needs a father who will be present, not just financially." I nodded, determined to show her that I meant every word. "I promise to be there for both of you. I will take time off work, I will learn how to care for a baby, and I will do everything I can to make this right. You deserve that. Lily deserves that." Emily's eyes softened further, the skepticism giving way to a hint of hope. "It's a big commitment, Carter. Are you ready for that?" "More than ready," I replied, a sense of conviction filling me. "I want to be the father Lily deserves. I want to be the partner you need. I know I have a long road ahead of me, but I'm willing to walk it." The moment hung between us, charged with possibility. I could see the inner conflict in Emily's expression, the struggle to reconcile her past experiences with the chance for a new beginning. I took a step closer, ready to bridge the gap, ready to prove myself as a father and a partner. "I may not have all the answers, but I promise to try," I added softly, my gaze locked on Lily's tiny face, the innocent life that had unwittingly sparked this transformation within me. Emily sighed, her shoulders relaxing just a fraction, as if she were finally allowing the walls she had built around her heart to lower slightly. "We'll see," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "but it won't be easy." "I don't expect it to be," I replied, feeling a sense of hope begin to blossom in my chest. I'm ready for the challenge. The next few days felt like an emotional roller coaster, each moment stretching out into eternity as I attempted to navigate this newfound reality. My mind was a turbulent sea of thoughts, churning with the consequences of my actions and the shock of discovering that Lily was my daughter. I had spent years building walls around my heart, convinced that vulnerability was a weakness. Now, I found myself yearning for connection, desperate to bridge the chasm between Emily and me. I could feel the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders, a burden I had never anticipated carrying. Emily had been distant after our heartfelt conversation. I respected her need for space, but I hated the silence that lingered between us. Every time I caught a glimpse of her in the hall or saw her tending to Lily, a knot formed in my stomach. I wanted to reach out, to tell her how deeply sorry I was, but I feared that my words would only make things worse. I had already caused enough pain. I didn't want to overstep and push her away even further. One afternoon, as I sat in my office, the glass walls offering a panoramic view of the city skyline, I felt an overwhelming urge to see her again. I gathered my courage and left my office, heading down to the staff quarters. The familiar sights of the lavish surroundings felt hollow now, a stark contrast to the warmth I had experienced in Emily's presence. I knocked softly on her door, my heart racing as I did so, the sound echoing in the quiet hallway. "Emily?" I called out, hoping she would answer. After a brief moment, the door creaked open, revealing her tired yet beautiful face. Her eyes widened in surprise, but quickly narrowed with uncertainty. "Carter," she said, her voice firm, "what do you want?" "I just want to talk," I replied, trying to keep my tone steady despite the turmoil brewing within me. "Can we sit down for a moment?" Reluctantly, she stepped aside, allowing me to enter. The modest space was filled with the soft coos of Lily, who was nestled in a crib at the far end of the room. I took a seat on the edge of Emily's bed, unsure of how to begin. The air was thick with unspoken tension, but I knew I had to break the silence. "I've had a lot of time to think," I started, staring down at my hands, willing them not to shake. "I can't believe the mistakes I've made. I can't change the past, but I want to make things right, for you and for Lily." Emily folded her arms, a protective gesture that made my heart ache. "And how do you plan to do that?" she challenged, her voice steady but laced with skepticism. "You think a few apologies are enough to erase years of neglect?" Her words stung, but I welcomed the honesty. "No, I don't expect it to be that easy," I admitted, looking up to meet her gaze. "But I want to be a part of your lives. I want to be a father to Lily. I want to support you both, not just financially, but emotionally too." A flicker of something, curiosity or perhaps hope, crossed her face, but it vanished just as quickly. "You think that just because you have money, you can fix everything?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. "You don't understand what it's like to struggle, Carter. You've always had everything handed to you." "I know I've lived a privileged life, but that doesn't mean I'm immune to pain or regret," I countered, feeling the heat of frustration rising in me. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away, but I'm here to learn. I want to understand your struggles, your life, everything that I've missed." Emily took a deep breath, her expression softening, but her resolve remained. "Words are just that, Carter, words. Actions speak louder, and you have a lot to prove." I nodded, recognizing the truth in her statement. "Then let me show you. I want to help you with Lily. I want to take on a more active role, not just as her father, but in your life too, if you'll allow me." The room fell silent as Emily glanced toward the crib, where Lily was now stirring. I could see the conflict in her eyes, a battle between her instinct to protect and her desire for connection. "After what felt like an eternity," she sighed, her shoulders drooping slightly. "I just don't want Lily to get hurt. She deserves stability, and I don't know if I can trust you yet." "Trust takes time, I understand that," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm willing to earn it. I'll be there for you both, no matter how long it takes." As if sensing the weight of our conversation, Lily let out a small whimper, and Emily instinctively moved to soothe her. My heart swelled at the sight, watching Emily effortlessly transition back into her nurturing role, and I was reminded of the depth of her strength. "I can't promise I won't be scared or wary," she said, cradling Lily against her shoulder, "but I want to try, for her sake." A flicker of hope ignited within me, a small light piercing through the darkness that had clouded my mind since the revelation. "That's all I ask for," I said, my voice filled with sincerity. "I just want the chance to show you that I can be the father you never wanted, but the one Lily deserves." Emily looked into my eyes, searching for any signs of deception. After a moment, she seemed to relent, a fragile truce forming in the space between us. "All right," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "Let's take it one step at a time." As I watched her interact with Lily, tenderness radiating from her every movement, I realized this was only the beginning of my journey. I was ready to embrace the challenge ahead, eager to learn how to be the father I never thought I could be. The following days passed in a blur of emotions and unexpected revelations. I found myself waking up earlier than usual, compelled to steal glances at Emily and Lily. The soft sounds of the baby cooing in her crib melted my heart, challenging everything I believed about my own priorities and sense of worth. Each moment I spent watching Emily care for her daughter was a reminder of the burden I had placed upon her, and it ignited a fierce desire within me to atone for my past actions. She was more than just a maid. She was a mother, a warrior navigating through the relentless struggles of life, and now she was also my daughter's mother. I was finally beginning to understand the weight of my responsibilities. One morning, I decided to approach Emily with the proposition. I wanted to offer her support, not just in terms of finances, but in a more personal way. The thought of her working tirelessly while trying to raise Lily gnawed at me. I wanted to invite her to dinner, not as employer and employee, but as two people attempting to forge a connection for the sake of the child who had unwittingly intertwined our fates. I crafted the words carefully in my mind, rehearsing them as I paced the expansive halls of my home. Finally, I found the moment. I caught her in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for us both. "Emily," I began, my voice steady despite the nervous flutter in my stomach. She paused, looking up at me with a mix of curiosity and caution. "I've been thinking about how we can work together, for Lily." My heart raced as I said her name, marveling at its significance in my life. "I'd like to invite you and her to have dinner with me tomorrow night, just us three." Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought she might refuse. But then she nodded slowly, a shy smile breaking through the tension. "I'd like that," she replied softly, her demeanor easing slightly. I felt a swell of relief mingled with the undeniable thrill of hope. We were taking tentative steps toward a relationship that had been built on misunderstanding and miscommunication. As the day approached, I spent hours preparing. I wanted everything to be perfect: flowers on the table, a simple yet exquisite meal, and a warm atmosphere to ease the unease that lingered between us. I wanted Emily to see that I was committed to this new chapter, not just for my sake, but for Lily's future. My mind raced with thoughts of how to fill the silence that might hang heavily over the dinner. What would I say? How would we navigate the intricacies of our situation? When the evening finally arrived, I was met with a sight that took my breath away. Emily walked in wearing a simple yet elegant dress that accentuated her beauty in ways I had never noticed before. Holding Lily close, she exuded a mix of warmth and strength that filled the room. My heart softened, realizing just how much I had overlooked in my blind pursuit of wealth and status. I gestured for her to sit, pouring us both glasses of sparkling water as a gesture of celebration. As we began to eat, the conversation flowed more easily than I had anticipated. We shared stories about our lives, the challenges we faced, and the dreams we held. Emily spoke about her aspirations for Lily, painting a picture of a future where her daughter could have opportunities that she had been denied. In turn, I found myself opening up about my own childhood and the complexities of my relationship with my father, Samuel. It was a cathartic experience, allowing me to reveal parts of myself that I had long buried under layers of corporate bravado. "Carter," she said gently, her gaze focused intently on me, "it's important for Lily to know her father. She deserves to have a relationship with you, no matter our past." I could see the sincerity in her eyes, the earnestness in her voice, and I felt a powerful surge of determination. This wasn't just about making amends, it was about building a future, a family that was rooted in love and mutual respect. As the evening drew to a close, I felt a profound sense of connection with Emily. We had begun to mend the fractures of our past through the simple act of sharing a meal and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. I knew there would be hurdles ahead, navigating my relationship with Samuel, facing societal judgments, and learning how to be a father. But in that moment, I felt emboldened. Emily had taught me more about compassion and understanding than I had ever learned in boardrooms or high-stakes negotiations. We parted ways that night with an unspoken agreement to continue exploring this newfound relationship. I watched Emily walk away, Lily cradled in her arms, and a surge of hope filled my chest. I realized this was just the beginning of my journey toward redemption and fatherhood. In a world filled with judgments, I had found my purpose, and I was eager to share my story with others. If you have moments of unexpected connection or paths to redemption, I invite you to share your experiences. Together, we can inspire change and understanding in our lives and those around us. With each passing day, I felt the weight of my past actions pressing down on me like an anchor pulling me into the depths of despair. I had built my empire on the backs of others, blind to their struggles, and now, faced with the reality of my own flesh and blood, I was forced to confront the consequences of my arrogance. Emily had shown incredible strength, not just in raising Lily, but also in maintaining her dignity despite my earlier cruelty. It was this strength that I admired, and it sparked a change within me, one that I had long thought impossible. As I sat in my expansive office, staring out at the city skyline, I couldn't shake the image of Emily cradling Lily. The softness of that moment stood in stark contrast to the harshness of my world. My phone buzzed, and I glanced at the screen to see a text from Emily. She was asking if we could talk, and my heart raced at the thought of facing her again. It was time to confront the reality I had created, and I knew I couldn't hide behind my wealth any longer. When I arrived at her modest apartment, the atmosphere felt charged. I knocked on the door, and as it opened, I was met with a gaze that held a mixture of wariness and curiosity. Emily stood there, cradling Lily against her chest, a protective barrier between us. I took a deep breath, struggling to find the right words that would convey my remorse without sounding insincere. "Emily, I know I can't change the past, but I want to make things right," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She hesitated, her eyes darting to Lily before returning to me. "You humiliated me in front of everyone, Carter. How do you expect me to trust you after that?" Her voice was steady, but I could hear the underlying hurt. I had shattered something precious in that moment, and no amount of money could fix it. I could only offer my sincerity. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry," I admitted, my heart pounding. "I've been blind to so much, and I've come to realize that my actions have consequences far beyond my own world. I don't expect your forgiveness right away, but I want to be a part of Lily's life. I want to be a father to her, if you'll allow me." The vulnerability in my words hung in the air, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. Emily's gaze softened, but the tension didn't dissipate. "It's not just about you, Carter. Lily deserves stability, and you are a part of a world that can be cruel. What if you decide to walk away again?" Her words cut deep, and I knew she spoke from a place of deep-seated fear, one that resonated with my own past with my father. "I promise you, I will do everything I can to be there for both of you," I responded earnestly. "I've realized that my life has been empty without real connections, and I want to change that." The words poured from my heart, and I hoped they would touch hers as well. After a long pause, Emily sighed and stepped aside, allowing me to enter her home. The warmth inside contrasted sharply with the chill I felt upon entering. I took a seat on a small couch, and she gently placed Lily in my arms, the infant cooing softly as I cradled her. The overwhelming mix of emotions surged within me: joy, fear, and a deep sense of responsibility. This tiny being was my daughter, and I felt an immediate bond, one that transcended the mistakes I had made. "I want to create a better life for her," I said, looking up at Emily, my resolve firm. "We can be a family, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen." Emily watched me closely, assessing my sincerity, and I hoped she could see the change within me. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself embracing my new role. I began to spend more time with Emily and Lily, frequently visiting their apartment. Emily and I slowly formed a friendship, sharing our experiences and learning from each other. She showed me the realities of motherhood, the sacrifices she made, and the love that filled her home despite its modesty. I was struck by her resilience and the joy she derived from the simplest of moments with Lily. One afternoon, as we sat together on the living room floor, surrounded by toys and laughter, I watched Emily play with Lily. The sight was both heartwarming and bittersweet, reminding me of the time I had lost. "You know, Carter," Emily said, her voice thoughtful, "being a parent isn't just about financial support. It's about being present, showing love, and creating memories." Her words resonated deeply with me, hitting home in a way I had not anticipated. I realized that my journey would be about more than just financial stability. It would be about emotional availability and commitment. I vowed to be present for both of them, to show up in ways that mattered. As I started to integrate myself more into their lives, I found myself facing my own father, Samuel, again. The past hung heavily between us, filled with unspoken words and unresolved issues. I had long avoided him, but the need for closure pushed me to reach out. I wanted to confront the man who had abandoned me, not just for my own sake, but for Lily's future as well. I arranged to meet Samuel at a quiet cafe, my stomach churning with anxiety. When I saw him sitting there, a familiar figure from my childhood, I felt a rush of conflicting emotions. We exchanged pleasantries, but the tension was palpable. "I've become a father," I finally said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "And I'm learning what it means to be responsible." Samuel looked taken aback, and for a brief moment, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Regret, perhaps? "I made mistakes, Carter," he admitted, his voice low, "but I hope you can learn from them and break the cycle." His words hung between us, and I realized that perhaps there was a chance for healing, not just for myself, but for the generations to come. My journey of redemption had only just begun, and I was determined to embrace every moment, not just for Lily, but for Emily, who had shown me the true meaning of love and resilience. Together, we would forge a new path, one filled with hope and understanding, breaking free from the chains of our past.